Welcome to the most dangerous city in the world. I am Soin Kim from Yonsei University. It's a great honor for me to moderate this opening ceremony for the 18th Asian Bioethics Conference. What do you think about the Seoul? As you know, Seoul is a hot area because of the North Korean nuclear threat. But I think we are, as a human being, are facing more dangerous futures because of the cutting-edge technology, especially bio-research fields. So now, let me introduce the important local and international attendees. Please give a big round of applause for our dearest guests as I call their names one by one. John Bang-ho, the President of Asian Bioethics Association. Woo Young-mo, the organizing committee chair of this conference and President of Korean Bioethics Association. Park Sang-eun, chairperson of the Korean National Bioethics Committee and chair of the board for the major sponsor institution for this conference, the Korean National Institution for Bioethics Policy. Professor Song Myung-se, the director of the Institute for Global Engagement and Empowerment in Yonsei University. Professor Song Sang-yeon, the former president of Asian Bioethics Association. Professor Lee Eun-sung, the president of Korean National Institute for Bioethics Policy. Professor Lee In-young, the academic chair of this conference.
She's coming.
Yes, coming. The member of the UNESCO RDC, International Bioethics Committee, and Professor Jin Kyo-hoon, the member of the Korean National Bioethics Committee, and Ms. Lee Young-ae, the member of Korean Bioethics Association, and Professor Anuja Fernando, former president of the ABA. Professor Miyako Takaki, former president of ABA. And Derek Mason, the secretary of ABA. Hassan of the the board member of ABA. M. Salvarayagan.
On his way.
And Tsuyoshi Owaya. Yujian Tai. Member of and Piruja Nashrova. Member of and Irina Kula. Yeah, the board member of the and Latifa Mami, and Shamima Laskov, and Mechi Sarimuta. Thank you very much. And
may I add one
yes.
Mr. Hong Jang-gi from Ministry of Health and Welfare.
And this. Thank you very much. From Ministry of Health and Welfare.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we are going to declare the successful opening of the 18th Asian Bioethics Conference. Professor Young-mo Koo, the organizing committee. Yes.
Two more persons.
Yes.
Ladies from mainland China. Coming.
Yes. Sorry. From the
collaboration with Bioethics. And he's a leader in humanity and the founding mother of the Social Science Institute in the one of the best Chinese medical schools.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And with Professor Young Mo-gu, the organizing committee chair of this conference and president of Korean Bioethics Association, will read the declarations. And please welcome Dr. Gu with a big applause.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy here. It is my great pleasure to have you all in the 18th Asian Bioethics Conference at Yonsei University in Seoul for the next 3 days. The theme of the conference is Future of Bioethics and Healthcare, coming at this critical time in human history. It is a joint effort with the National Bioethics Committee of the Republic of Korea that will make these back-to-back international meetings of bioethics possible. Please entertain a wide range of emerging knowledge in bioethics, biomedicine, and allow yourself to participate in active discussion among Asian colleagues in a wonderful academic setting. Finally, I wish you a pleasant stay in Seoul and other Korean cities, including Gangneung and Daejeon, and a safe travel back home. I'd like to list all the names of countries from the participants as of today. Bangladesh, Brazil. Do we have any participants from Brazil here? Okay. Cambodia. And China. Gambia, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, and Korea. Kazakhstan. Yeah, Tajikistan will be called up later. According to our record, we have one registration from Kazakhstan. Malaysia. Nepal. New Zealand. Portugal. Taiwan. Tajikistan. United Kingdom. And the US. Any countries that I missed? Australia. Oh, bad housekeeping, sorry. Australia. Australia, Sri Lanka. Okay. So, please enjoy your stay and entertain for the next 3 days. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now let's hear opening remarks. Please give a warm welcome to Professor Son Bang-woo, President of ABA. Please give a quick welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues working in Bioethics. I'm Bang Woo, President of Asian Bioethics Association. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the 18th Asian Bioethics Conference in Seoul. Seoul hosted the first Asian Bioethics Conference 14 years ago, and it is very nice for us, the members of the Asian Bioethics Association, get together here again. On behalf of the Asian Bioethics Association, I would like to give my sincere thanks to Young-mo, President of the Korean Bioethics Association, and Park Sang-eun, the Chairperson of the National Bioethics Committee of the Republic of Korea, for hosting the conference. And Chun Myung-tae, Director of the Institute for Global Engagement and Empowerment of Yonsei University, and Lee Eun-sung, Director of Korea National Institute of Bioethics Policy, for supporting the conference. My special thanks should also be given to Lee In-young, the Chair of the Scientific Committee, and Kim So-yoon, Secretary General of the Local Organizing Committee, for their hard work preparing and running this conference. Our members of the Asian Bioethics Association are very happy to be in Seoul again and meet many old friends, including Song Sang-yong, the former president of the Asian Bioethics Association, and Jin Kyo-kun, the former president of Korean Bioethics Association. I hope all participants and attendees enjoying the event this week. Please visit many posters, attend as many of the oral sessions as you can, make it through, and join in the discussions that lies. By sharing presentations and discussions on the Asian experiences in bioethics, I'm confident that this conference will be the most fruitful for our participants and attendees. And also, don't forget to enjoy the beautiful weather in Korea. Thank you very much.
Now we will be hearing congratulatory speeches from two very important VIPs. First congratulatory speech will be given by Park Sang-eun, Chairperson of National Bioethics Committee in Korea, who came all the way here to celebrate the successful opening of this conference. Please welcome with big applause.
Professor Son Bang-woo, President of Asia Bioethics Association, and Professor Young-mo, President of Korea Bioethics Association, and distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations on the 18th Asian Bioethics Conference being held in the beautiful season of autumn colors. Especially, I sincerely welcome Asian bioethics scholars and other participants who attend the meeting amid this rapidly changing Korean and international environments.
This conference is a meaningful place to illuminate the theme of future of bioethics and healthcare category on the verge of the fourth revolution, industrial revolution. As you may already know, Asia is composed of various countries which develop a long history and their unique cultures. In the light of these characteristics, I look forward to have serious yet meaningful discussions on how to accept future science and medicine. It is my sincere hope that through this conference, ethical guidelines for advanced science will be well developed. In that, life science and bioethics will work along together in the future with perfect harmony. Lastly, please let me give my sincere thanks to people who prepared and devoted themselves for the conference. So have a wonderful and enjoy the wonderful autumn color in Korea. Thank you. 감사합니다.
And the second congratulatory speech will be given by Son Myung-se, the Director of Institution for Global Engagement and Empowerment in Yonsei University, the host venue of this conference, and he was the founding leader of the health law and bioethics in Korea and Yonsei University.
Good afternoon, and congratulate you to have this great moment in Seoul, Korea, in the Asian Bioethics Conference. And my congratulatory message is on the proceedings. So I just give a small information about. I served as a director of Institute for Global Engagement and Empowerment in Yonsei University, and our institute has a Ban Ki-moon Center for Sustainable Development. So Ban Ki-moon Center for Sustainable Development will hold the World Sustainable Development Forum in next February. In the theme of the World Sustainable Development Forum in next February is put people and planet at the center, with the emphasis with the sustainable growth in developing and developed countries. So our ethics and the law is important and integral part of the things. Please come to that conference, and I'll invite you to be at the Seoul. Thank you very much.
We appreciate the wonderful congratulatory speeches you have given, and I truly hope this conference would be a meaningful opportunity for various local and international professionals and students to share your views and ideas freely on bioethics. Now, this ceremony will be closed, and after this ceremony, we will have 30 minutes coffee break, and we will proceed to the plenary symposium 1. And before that, we make the photo time. Is there any person who can? Yeah, Professor Kim-Ok-ju. He is the municipal.
Thanks anyway. Thanks anyway.
The chairperson is the Jun.
谢谢刚才帮我们表扬。
afternoon, everybody, again. We'd like to welcome you back. My name is Darryl Mason. I'm Secretary of the International Association. I'm President of the Asian Bioethics Association. And so, thank you for joining the 18th Asian Bioethics Conference. In this symposium 1, we are honored to have two special lectures. I'd like to invite Professor Samuel Park, Chairperson of the Korean National Bioethics Committee, to take the podium. This lecture on 12 years experience in National Bioethics Committee in Korea, and I hope we'll be. Yeah, let me introduce Park Sang-min. He studied medicine at the Korea University Medical College and Korean University Medical College. He completed his postdoctoral research at the St. Louis University and the University of Missouri in 1992. He obtained his PhD in medicine at the Korean University Medical College, Korea. He was an assistant professor at the nephrology department of the Ocean University Medical College and was medical director of the Songham Central Hospital, and now he is the president of the Sam Medical Center. He is serving as the chairperson of the National Bioethics Committee since 2014. Okay, let us give big applause.
Thank you, Chair. It's my great honor to present the 12 years experience of the National Bioethics Committee in Korea. I'd like to introduce Korea National Bioethics Committee. It's the first part. And second part, I'd like to present major activities of KNBC. So, I'd like to introduce KNBC's overview of functions, composition, members, operation, main history, and research institute. So, Korea National Bioethics Committee was established as a presidential committee in 2005. Usual other countries' National Bioethics Committee belong to Ministry of Health, but in Korea, National Bioethics Committee belong to the President directly. It lies under the direct jurisdiction of the Presidential Commission. It deliberates on the bioethical matters according to Bioethics and Safety Act. So this act is very important. It was legislated in 2005 to ensure bioethics safety and enhancement of the public health and quality of life. It was revised in 2012. This act also stipulates the establishment, missions, composition, and operation rules of the National Bioethics Committee. Our National Bioethics Committee's function is dependent on this act. So KNBC deliberates on the following matters according to this act, Article 7. Establishment of basic national policies on bioethics and biosafety, and exemption from the examination of a human subject research project, and research for which it is permitted to use residual embryos, and research for which it is permitted to use embryonic stem cell lines, restrictions on genetic tests. So KMBC is composed of 20 members. Ex-officio members are 6 ministers: Minister of Education, Minister of Science, Minister of Justice, and Minister of Health and Welfare, Minister of Family, and Minister of Trade and Industry. And another 7 experts from bioscience or biomedical science, and another 7 representatives from religions or ethics or NGO or women area. So now present members are 6 government members. Minister of Health and Welfare is Senior Secretary, and Minister of Science is Secretary, and 14 experts from 7 is from science field and 7 is from ethics field. So Minister of Health and Welfare serves as the Senior Secretary of KMDC. Is responsible for administrative affairs. And KMDC is supported by 5 specialized subcommittees. The first one is for bioethics and safety policy, and second, embryo production research. Third one is research on human materials and biobanks. And fourth, genetic test and gene therapy. Fifth, human subject protection. And KMDC shall be independent and open to the public. Its main history, the first period, 2005 to 2008, the main topics were discussion of institutional review board and institutional bioethics committee. And we reviewed somatic cell cloning and research. Second period, the topics were discussion of stem cell line registration system and discussion of the Bioethics and Safety Act revision. And third, fifth period, we reviewed regulation of genetic testing and the lower statute of Bioethics and Safety Act, and we recommended life-sustaining treatment decision process. Now the fourth period, our committee, we announced the declaration on respect for life last year. And we reviewed somatic cell cloning embryo research and the regulation of genetic testing. And we hosted the Asia Pacific Regional Meeting for National Ethics Committee. Today, we finished this conference in Western Seoul. And we have a research institute, Korea National Institute for Bioethics Policy. The mission are develop and support of bioethics policy in the Republic of Korea, and ethical and moral consideration of biomedical technology development and expansion of bioethics consciousness. So this institute's major activities are research and policy support and expansion of the bioethics field and public IRB and IBC operation and evaluation of accreditation of IRB and IBC. So this organization is composed of many departments. So the chair of Korea National Bioethics should be the chair of the board of this institute. And we have a wonderful library. So the library has many kinds of journals and books and DVD about bioethics. You can use freely. So the activities of the Korea National Institute. I'd like to present our activities within 12 years. I choose just 3 activities. The first one is follow-up action for Dr. Huang standard. Second is discussion about life-sustaining treatment decision process. Third one is announcement of a declaration on respect for life. The first activities is about follow-up action for Dr. Huang standard. As you know, there was a ethical issue regarding obtaining eggs. So it was published in 2004 in Science, but there was a suspicion of using 2 eggs of his colleagues of the research team. So Professor Shetton decided not to research with Dr. Wang in 2005. And there was another research ethical issues about the research manipulation. So stem cell research results was fake. So that's the big scandal in Korea. So KMDC organized a working group in 2005 and investigated how things really happened. So we reported regarding ethical issues, source of eggs used in the study, health of egg donor, IRD review. So KMDC recommended that relevant regulations should be prepared to ensure that all participants in the study have access to all the research on human subjects. So the need to build infrastructure of IRD review, including human subjects research and human material research after this scandal. And second activity is about discussion about life-sustaining treatment decision process. From yesterday, the trial of this act was started in Korea, and next February, this act will be started in all hospitals in Korea. So the background were several cases. The first case is Borabe Hospital's case in 2004. It's about against the discharge about medical recommendation. After then, the patient was died after coming back to their home. So after that, in intensive care unit in all Korean hospitals, comatose patients cannot be discharged because of some sue from the patient's relatives. The next case is the Severance Hospital, Grandma Kim's case in 2009. Kim's family sued a hospital for withdrawing Kim's life-sustaining treatment. So Korean Medical Association issued guidelines for withdrawing of life-sustaining treatment in 2009. KMDC organized a specialized committee in 2012 and suggested the enactment in 2013. We recommended some legislation. So the patient condition should be dying patient with no possibility to get back to life, who is not reacting to treatment for his disease, who deteriorates rapidly. And the requirement is diagnosis of more than 2 physicians, including 1 specialist. And the life-sustaining treatment should be restricted just to 4 treatment, CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and ventilator, and hemodialysis, and anti-cancer drug. So KMBC recommended, according to type of patient's wishes, we can review by attending physician or attending physician and another medical specialist. After that, we can approve the decision. So, according to type of patient's wish, if there is life-sustaining treatment plan or advanced directives, it is easier. It's just reviewed by attending physician, but just the estimated wishes of the patients, we have to another specialist review. And hospital ethics committee, when there are no family members, but in this law, our recommendation is not permitted. This is the enactment process. We recommended to Korean National Bioethics Committee our recommendation. So National Assembly approved it in 2016, last year, Act promulgation, hospice palliative care. It was enforced this year, August. But another hospice palliative care, but the dying patient's decision is enforced next February. So it is divided. It is composed of 6 chapters: the general provision, the management system for decision, and administration of decision, and hospice palliative care, supplementary provision, and penal provisions. So target patients is just a judgment as to dying patients. I already mentioned attending physician shall make a judgment as to whether the patient is dying, which is to be concurrent with that of another medical specialist in the appropriate field, and record the results of the judgment. Dying means that it will be irreversible condition of imminent death led by rapid deterioration of the patient's symptoms following no recovery in spite of medical treatment. So we know just the dying patient is the target of this act. And categories of life-sustaining treatment should be restricted just for treatment: cardiopulmonary resuscitation, hemodialysis, and accumulation mechanical ventilator. It is same to our recommendation. But medical treatment for relief from pain, nutrition, hydration, and oxygenation shall not be withheld or withdrawn. Expressive patients' will can be divided into 2 types. The first one is life-sustaining treatment plan. It is similar to American forced. As you know, the attending physicians make this plan in front of patient. So it's bedside document. But the advanced directive is written by health adult. So after 18 years old, we can prepare advanced directive. So it is similar to American Living Will. As I mentioned about the verification of patient's will, it depends on type of patient's intent. So it's similar to our recommendation, but as I mentioned, there is no family members. We recommended hospital ethics committee will decide, but this law, it is not committee. So decision of legal representative for the minor age patient, attending physician and another specialist can review, it can be approved. So I will show as a diagram. So if there is a life-sustaining plan or advanced directives, we can do formal life-sustaining treatment decision, but there is no this plan or directives. We review the statements of the family or the legal representative opinion. This is the governance for life-sustaining treatment. National committee and national agency and registry agency for advanced directives. So probably many NGO or the religion organization can be registry agencies. And this is the hospital for life-sustaining treatment plan. They have to have ethics committee in each hospital. And governance for life-sustaining treatment is National Committee for Hospice Care and LST. They have to deliberate master plan every 5 years. And it is composed of 15 persons, and chairperson should be the Vice Minister of Health and Welfare. The governance for life-sustaining treatment is National Agency for the Management of LST. Now our National Research Institute of Bioethics is the candidate of the National Agency for the Management of LST. So they do accumulate database for LST plans and advanced directives, and supervise the registry agencies for advanced directives, and respond to requests for LST plans and advanced directives, and research and education. So, Medical Institution Ethics Committee, Hospital Ethics Committee should be composed of no less than 5 persons, including 1 person not working for the relevant medical institution, 2 persons other than medical personnel who are to be recommended by the religious, judicial, ethical circles or civic organizations. So it's very tight this condition. So hospice palliative care is provided for the terminal patients with cancer, AIDS, COPD, liver cirrhosis. In the past, just the cancer patient is the target of the hospice palliative care, but from this act, another patients, AIDS, COPD, liver cirrhosis, and other probably 12 diseases WHO recommended, they can be provided by hospice palliative care. And there are 3 types of palliative care. The first one is admission by, second home visiting, third one is consultation in other admission wards by palliative care team. So governance for palliative care is composed of a national committee and national care center and regional care center and hospital and institution care center. The third one, our activity is announcement of declaration on respect for life. As you know, in Korea there were many serious accidents, including several ferry sinking. More than 300 people died of this ferry sinking. And another one is homicide of humidifier scandal. So we need to declare the respect for life, to create a social atmosphere for the culture of respecting bioethics. So Korea National Bioethics Committee proposed the necessity of establishing the SHARP as the basic principle for respecting the life. And we organized a specialized committee in 2015, and KMC reviewed the proposal of the specialized committee and announced the declaration in 2016. And we have recommended that the government and the related organizations use the declaration. It is composed of 3 parts. The first part is a preamble, and second is core values: the responsibility, equality, security, reciprocity. And the third one is agenda. We suggested 6 action plans to individual, family, society, and the state. So this is the English version of the Declaration of Respect for Life. And we have a Japanese version. For the promotion, Korea National Bioethics Committee held a meeting with the media, and we discussed with the National Assembly and with the other healthcare-related organizations. So this declaration has promoted to relevant events and journals, and 6 ministers will use it in related education. So already 4 ministers already have a plan to promote this declaration on respect for life. So thank you very much for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you've done a really tremendous amount of work, and being centered under a president, you're able to reach many different disciplines and give a research capacity to the policy initiatives of many ministries. We'd like to open the floor to discussion. If you please take the opportunity. It's a rare opportunity to have access to the Secretary and President of the Chairperson of the National Commission. Can Tyler first, and then
So, let me just premise this a little bit. So, at the UNESCO Chair and Bioethics Conference held earlier this year, there was discussion about maybe generating a European right for life and death, based off of just their policies on euthanasia, doctor-assisted suicide. I know that we're still getting to that point in the US as well. I mean, Oregon has several different policies, a couple other different states have different policies regarding doctor-assisted suicide. How is that going to proceed in Korea? Because if we're talking about a respect for life, necessarily we have to have respect for people's wishes for an earlier death than we intended, especially with terminal patients, maybe not necessarily for mentally ill individuals, but it's definitely a consideration that we have to take into account, because if we're trying to respect life, where do we divide that line of, people can just do what they wish versus, we're only doing doctor-assisted suicide for cases of medical purposes. So I know that's a little bit weird, but I know there's been some discussion in the U.S. that, if people want to commit suicide on their own, they can't just go into a hospital and do it. There has to be basic premises behind it, like a terminal case or etc.
Yeah.
Would you please identify yourself?
I'm Tyler James. I'm presenting tomorrow, Friday as well, and I'm just an undergraduate student still, but
Yeah. Thank you for your wonderful question. I think it's totally different to the physician-assisted suicide or the withdrawal of the life-sustaining treatment from permanent vegetative state patient. Because, for example, vegetative state of patient is a very chronic comatose patient. This is not the target of this law, because this law is just for the dying patient and irreversible state which is diagnosed by two more doctors, including one specialist. So we don't discuss about the physician-assisted suicide or the euthanasia. Most of our members who are the ethicists in Korea, we don't accept the physician-assisted suicide or euthanasia, and the withdrawal of the life-sustaining treatment from the vegetative state patient. There is a debate, but we don't discuss in this law is totally different. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, from Bangladesh.
Thank you, Professor Park, for your nice presentation. I learned many things from your presentation, and it's very appreciating that your government was involved in the bioethics committee, and you have the presidential, and it is totally controlled by your government. It's a very appreciated. And you have shown here the advanced directive have the drawback that below 18 years of age, life-sustaining treatment, or it is disadvantage of that below 18 years of age cannot put any advanced directive. And there is also another drawback that advanced directive cannot withdrawn because due to their disease progression, they are in vegetative stage. So this is another drawback of the advanced directive. But my question is, you have shown one slide that you have, sometimes you have the public ethics committee. I don't understand actually what is public ethics committee, or who are the member, how many members of this committee?
Yeah, so thank you. So for your second question, in public ethics committee means, each hospital has to have ethics committee in each hospital, but small hospital or rural area hospital, they don't have their own ethics committee in each hospital. So in that case, we provide public ethics committee in province or in central area. So they they requested some decision case to the public ethics committee from the small hospital. We provide the ethical review, and we can support for decision. So public ethics committee should be composed of the same composition, one more non-medical persons with ethicists or religion leaders, something like that. So it is very, I think it is efficient and it's very confident system. And your first question is the under 18 years old. Well, you mean that they don't have any advanced directive, but in that case, it's not target of the advanced directive, but we can listen the family's opinion, and how about Dr. Yoon Sung-lee, Dr. Kim, young Kim, under the 18 years old, in that case, how can I catch the wish, the patient wish for the advanced directive?
Parents.
Yeah, so according to the parents and the family agreement with the opinion, but there is some kind of a regulation, but I didn't describe about that. So thank you.
Minors cannot play. Minors,
Yeah, mine.
depending on, according to the law, minors cannot submit administrative.
Yeah, so it is not the.
19 years old.
So just it's kind of our daily activities. So next time probably you can have a chance to discuss about the dying patients. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dear Dr. Park, thank you very much for your presentation. It is very useful for me. And my questions regarding your Presidential Committee on Bioethics. So, the Bioethics and Safety Act, which you adopt in your country, is it as a legislation the main law on bioethics in your country? Bioethics and Safety Act. Is it as a legislation the main law?
Yeah.
The first question.
Yeah.
This is a law. And the second question is about the Research Institute, Research National Institute for Bioethics Policy in Korea. So, is this institute only focusing on research or also on educational program? If you have some educational program, do you have curricula, and can any international students apply for this research institute? Thank you.
It is not only education program. So it is the research institute. So we research and supporting for the National Bioethics Committee is the main activity. So, but we provide some education material for the general population. It is our activity. Yeah. So yeah, internship. Yeah, we accept internship from other university students or postgraduate students.
Postgraduate.
Yeah, postgraduate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Too many questions.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the very interesting insight. I think Korea has been very active in providing maybe very quick updates on all the guidelines. Very good to hear on that. But unfortunately, our country is a big lay back behind. So I'm just wondering, you have an act by the name of Bioethics and Safety, to be very interesting. We only have Biosafety Act in this year. We don't have any Bioethics Act yet, not even the guideline, hopefully in the future. But we do have one for the research ethics, which cover most of the medical research. I'm just wondering whether you have a separate Biosafety Act or not, which govern the biotech activities and all the bioscience. Will you have a separate biosafety, or is it covered in your act? Thank you.
Yeah. Could you ask again the final part?
Do you have a separate biosafety act?
Yeah. Separate. Yeah.
Separate.
Yeah. So I think it's legislation is very important. So we push the National Assembly to make the law, but it is it has a problem because it is very strict, or to revise is not easy. Yeah. If the guideline was some recommendation, we can change or we revise easier. But it's, the law is good, but sometimes it is inefficient. So we have to, sometimes we need to legislation, but sometimes we can use the guideline or the recommendation. So thank you. It is different.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much for your presentation. I would like to ask you something that, as a Western person living in Asia, raises my interest, and it's the differences between bioethics across cultures. So my question will be, do you think we have only one universal bioethics with common values that all cultures adopt, or is there like an Asian bioethics, a Western bioethics, a Jewish, a Catholic? What would be your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, it's very heavy question. So I think I agree the diversity, but in Korea we have one tribe until now, but now our society is changing into the diversity. So we have to discuss openly, and including you mean according to the religious group or the other ideology. So I think we can discuss openly, but the respect for life is the main backbone of our discussion. So you mentioned about euthanasia. It is it's very difficult to discuss. We have to seriously discuss about euthanasia, but the final decision should be very, I think it's not easy. So you can talk about the topic for some several hours, but I mean, in Korea, we are not exact time to accept euthanasia. I think it's my private opinion, but it's our social. I think it's the social atmosphere until now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
From China. Oh.
Thanks.
It's the
Actually,
same member of the Asia Pacific NEC conference.
I would like to have a little bit of comments about the just now the question. Actually, the question is quite a good question, I think. Yeah, because in China we have a lot of debate in these issues. We thought the how to answer the question. I think this is we always mention the Confucius saying is harmonized but not identical. It means we have the cultural diversity, no problem. But for the common value we share, no matter the cultural diversity or not, because we are human beings. So this is the why international guidelines very important. For the hardcore, we have to adhere to. But anyway, the other part, so it depends sometimes what kind of way we implement this, the principles. We need to think about that, such as the debate on the informed consent, how to obtain that. Maybe we have the cultural diversity, we have some specific way to get it. But informed consent is a hardcore, is principle. Thanks.
Yes, it's a good point. So we are human beings, and the respect for life is the most important thing. So in our National Bioethics Committee, so we are composed of many kinds of specialists, or even the ministers. So among 6 ministers, Minister of Science and Minister of Industry, they are eager to promote science and technology. But another Minister of Justice, Minister of Education, and Minister of Family, they are eager to keep the value of human being. So there is some conflict. So Minister of Health and Welfare, he is coordinating between 2 perspectives. So even in experts, 7 from Science and Technology Department, and 7 is from Ethics and Religion and Women. So there is a big debate in our National Ethics Committee, but we after discussion, we propose kind of the value is the common sense and common our opinion to the government or to the president. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can add to this discussion, I think your 2 comments from various questions from Xiaomei and Professor Park, it illuminates that in fact inside the same culture, which is sometimes meant to be homogeneous, such as Korea, we actually find different views inside the culture. You mentioned different ministers representing different views on the, in a sense, positivistic views towards science and technology, and those who are thinking that it challenges and we need to promote dignity of life, and that dignity of life is challenged somehow by advanced science and technology. And these discussions, this discourse like yin and yang has gone on for the history, I think, of Asian Bioethics Association discourse. I remember some papers by Professor Song in the past looking at the views on science and technology and how we are trying to find a balance towards that. And it's fundamental to some of the challenges of this conference theme. Professor Koo chose the theme of the future of bioethics with colleagues from Yonsei University. This is goes to the essence of our future of reflection. How can we reflect on bioethics with this continued discourse on the enhancement of life and the capacity for intervention to ease disease and suffering, with the capacity for saying no and letting us follow Tao or dignity or whatever we may call it, to limit the application of technology so that we don't lose our humanity, let's say. That what is humanity? And I think this discourse has gone on in Asian traditions for millennia, the same as it's gone on in European traditions or African traditions or American traditions. So those threads of the discourse, I think, are what makes global bioethics so interesting. And how you approach it to the policy, I think, was very illuminating as well. Because the policymakers need to decide how do you reconcile bioethics with the national biotechnology policy or a nanotechnology or a information technology process. Later we'll hear about robots. So I don't know if you've done any work on AI and the interface, because that's being the relationships between humans and their laptops or their cell phones or their implants are very interesting in terms of the future of bioethics. Maybe somebody has some other questions over this part or participate your response.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to another presentation. So, not to be confused, the next presenter is also Professor Park. But they are not clones. In fact, Professor Sewon Park is at the Center for Strategic Foresight in Science and Technology Policy Institute in KAIST. In fact, one of the satellite centers for upwards of KAIST as well. And he will talk about, in a sense, how do we develop the life of the future as well. It's titled Exploring with Whom Humans Will Live in a Transhuman Society. We would like to read this resume. Yeah, let me introduce Dr.
He's a research fellow at the Science and Technology Policy Institute Korea, and also adjunct professor at the Graduate School of Future Strategy, KAIST. He got PhD from the Alternative Futures Program, Department of Political Science at University of Hawaii at Manoa, and was a former researcher at Hawaii Research Center for Future Studies and a member of World Future Studies Federation and the Association of Professional Futurists. His major areas of specialization are government future studies in the EU, USA, and East Asia, and policy planning and decision making through practices of foresight activities, future research method based on scenarios, emerging issue analysis and horizon scanning, and indigenous future studies with comparative cultures and philosophies. Let's welcome his lectures.
Hello everyone, my name is Somon Park, working as a foresight researcher at Steffi, and also teach methodologies and theories of future studies. I'm going to present my idea exploring with whom humans will live in a transhuman society, which is incomplete. So please enlighten me by providing wisdom and knowledge. The famous sci-fi novelist Isaac Asimov once said that predicting the future is a hopeless, thankless task, difficult to begin with, and often scorned to end with. I agree with Asimov. Sometimes I didn't talk about what I'm doing to even my wife. So wife doesn't know what I'm doing for a living. But in a similar word, a different perspective. Jim Nader is a former director of Hawaii Research Center for Future Studies, said that any useful idea of the futures should appear to be ridiculous. Because new technologies permit new behaviors and values and challenge the old ones that is based on prior technology. Much that will be characteristics of futures is initially novel and challenging. So it typically seems at first glance stupid, impossible, obscene, or ridiculous. But it becomes familiar and eventually normal. So if futurists expect to be useful, they expect to be ridiculous. The public, the general public, or decision makers, if they wish to have useful information about the future, they should expect it to be unconventional, even offensive or ridiculous. But however, futurists have additional burden in making the initially ridiculous ideas possible, plausible, and actionable by marshaling appropriate evidence and weaving the future scenario of which possible developments. So right now I try to be ridiculous by my presentation. A little bit backgrounds. The article forecast with whom humans will live in 2050 by considering how current breakthroughs in technology will transform human society. The technologies that we consider are ones by which humans are radically changed into transhumans. By definition, transhumans are able to eliminate the aging process and greatly enhance their intellectual, physical, and psychological capacities by developing technologies such as cryons, nanotechnology, genetics, artificial intelligence, brain chips, robotics, and space colonization. But at the same time, we have to speculate on other types of things besides humans and transhumans in 2050, which will be machine sapiens, or in other words, humanoids with artificial intelligence. Last year we watched the game of Go, wherein the AlphaGo, a computer program made by Google and beat the world champion Go of Mr. Lee. Koreans were shocked. I was shocked. Although AlphaGo is just a computer program, it's not a strong form of AI, but Koreans have now come to believe that a strong form of AI will be developed soon. Furthermore, one can also speculate on the existence of future generations that the first machine sapiens will bring forth. While the notion of machines becoming spiritual beings still remains in the realm of sci-fi movies, one can imagine that they will want to expand in power and influence by reproducing themselves once machines achieve intelligence. British physicist Stephen Hawking once said in BBC, once humans develop artificial intelligence, it will take off on its own and redesign itself at an ever-increasing rate. So at least in theory, there will be 4 different types of beings coexisting in the future. Pure humans, transhumans, humanoids, and pure machine sapiens. So we argue that it is critical and significant to imagine whom humans will live with in the future. A transhuman society which for different types of beings coexist addresses the political issue of who will be members and strangers in the future. How will the global members and strangers be constituted? How will each group admit members and exclude strangers? These political issues are not only futuristic, but also the current ones that contemporary people experience in their daily lives. So for example, as citizens of society, we have to decide whom should we admit. Are we to have open admissions? Can you choose among applicants? What are the appropriate criteria for distributing membership? So now we are looking to transhumanism in detail. The term transhumanism was coined by the evolutionary biologist Julian Huxley in 1957. Huxley argued that transhumanism is a new kind of existence that's different from ours. He believed that humans would remain humans in the future, but would incessantly attempt to transcend themselves, thereby determining the future of the humanity and other creatures on the earth. The notion of human evolution came to include intentional engineering dimension after Huxley coined the term transhumanism. The idea of a transhumanism became more concrete by embracing diverse philosophies and technologies. For example, the writer and educator FM 2030 published this book entitled Are You a Transhuman? In 1989, and wrote that one day humans would achieve a level of technology that would offer humans the chance of immortality. Actually, his ideas of immortality was partially realized by the Alco Life Extension Foundation, which conducts research into cryonics, a technology that is an effort to save lives by using temperature so cold that a person that is beyond the help of today's medicine can be preserved for decades or centuries until a future medical technology can restore that person to full health. Furthermore, transhumanism was institutionalized by World Transhumanist Association in 1998. Nick Bostrom, one of initiators of World Transhumanist Association, moreover, established an Institute for Ethics and Emerging Technologies at Oxford University for advancing the discourse on transhumanism and the future of humanity in 2004. We searched for literature that includes the word of a transhuman or transhumanism in their title, abstract, and keywords using research database, Scopus database. And then a total of 475 references were retrieved. And we found that the discussion on transhumanism has been expanded in area of various fields. And also we found that the key technology that implement the transhuman era is shifting from nanotechnology to neuroscience. So we define transhumanism as cultural and intellectual activity to promote physical transformation, expansion, and enhancement, and improve mental and physical abilities by actively using technologies. Its purpose is to continuously break down and expand common ideas regarding humanity and normality. In fact, there is nothing wrong with referring to modern humans as transhuman. This is because we are already overcoming diseases, extending people's lives and creating more appropriate environments and civilization for humans through various technologies. But what the transhuman society implies is unprecedentedly fresh and original. It announces that the time in which humans evolved through natural selection has ended, and the time in which humans can evolve intentionally based on their own decision has begun. This implies a rapid change in the human body. Steve Fuller, a British sociologist who published a book titled Humanity 2.0, asserts that the time for Humanity 2.0 is the era in which the normal human body is no longer accepted as natural. He emphasizes that this is not a time when humans cannot change their body from birth or until death, but a time in which humans can change their bodies whenever it is necessary. On the other hand, there's also scholars who assert that the post-humanism is an attempt to break away from anthropocentrism and the illusion of this embodiment. Actually, Korean society has not engaged in much discussion regarding normativity supported by the era of the transhuman. Also, the normative values such as augmented humanity, good health, and longevity is not the only value our society should pursue in the future. In fact, there are also those who are critical of the way social criticism is weakened by human desire, while there are also those who warn that the development of scientific technologies may create more negative social effects than benefits. However, it's true that the enhancement of the human ability, life extension, and anti-aging are considered values worthy of pursuing in our society. Sometimes I heard from others, I look younger and I can feel better. So moreover, we assume that the time when the pursuit of such normativity is advisable has arrived, we can more clearly understand the destination of society in the future. This normativity elucidates the purpose of various technological developments, allowing us to focus the direction of technical developments. So figure 1 presents typification of transhuman technologies. The transhuman technologies are classified by two axes. The area of human competence improvements divided into mind and body, and technology application approaches divided by machine-oriented and bio-oriented. So for example, bio-oriented approach is an attitude that gradually improves human abilities without deviating rate from the human biological conditions. While the machine-oriented approach is an attitude that aims to achieve radical progress by combining human body parts with machines. So through this classification, we can put relevant technologies in each categories. For example, brain implant in machine-oriented by mind, and brain wave in bio-oriented by mind, and biomes in machine-oriented by body, and desire baby in bio-oriented by body. So in short, new technologies now can turn humans into transhumans by changing perspective from restorative or normalizing to reconfiguring or enhancing the field of medicine as an example. Korean scholars Peck et al. Assert that when a human being is superior to a natural person in terms of intelligence appears, a situation in which such human being cannot be denied as a member of human species occurs. And it is regarded as a problem that can be encountered as an extension of the concept of human being. the technologies that will lead to a transhuman era significantly overlap with technologies mentioned with the fourth industrial revolution. For example, AI, robotics, or augmented and virtual reality, nano and bioengineering are considered to be common technologies for both fourth industrial revolution and the transhuman society. But cryonics or space exploration or human cloning or synthetic biology are not mentioned for the fourth industrial revolution. If we assume that the first industrial revolution can be a step oversight toward the transhuman society, we can guess that these technologies will be developed soon. So I'm arguing that we are moving into transhuman society. So now I'm going to talk about four things that humanity faces in the future. If we time travel to the United States in the middle of the 19th century and said that white men would in the future set their slaves free, live with them in peace without slavery, and understand the desires and needs of slaves, what would white men say to us? What if white men had forecasted new members of their society and prepared for such postulated futures? They would have avoided lots of brutal events and conflicts brought about between African Americans and white Americans. Figure 2 presents a typification of four things in the future. The four things of the future are based on two axes. This is a human desire divided into denaturing and naturing. And this axis, technology application approach. So human-centered, human body-centered, and machine-centered. So if you want to denature humanity by using human-centered technological approach, you can be a transhuman. So denaturing and naturing. In general, to denature is to change nature or natural characteristic. In the natural sciences, denature means to modify the molecular structure of entities such as proteins and DNA so as to destroy or diminish some of the original properties and especially specific biological activity. To denature humanity within the discourse of transhumanism then is to activate the slow and steady dissolution of the limitation of humanity and to transform humanity into a new species which is superior to the capabilities of humans by utilizing therapeutic or selective technological approaches. The society of humanity 2.0 is emerging based on factors such as the advances in biotechnology aim to expand the human condition, a growing awareness of the biological similarity between humans and other animals, and the increasing sense of human affection and sympathy migrating to animals and even androids. Through the discussion of humanity 2.0, we can understand that to denature humanity is to engineer human evolution intentionally and dramatically, similar to the image of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Humanity 1.0 is like a caterpillar, while humanity 2.0 is like a butterfly. It is worth noting that denaturation implies realizing active humanity, according to Dore. Dore, in her article, Buddhistas, Active Human Science, interestingly suggested Neoteny is an example of Buddhist nature. Neoteny is the retention by adult species of traits previously seen only in juveniles, and is a subject studied in the field of developmental biology. For example, the axolotl known as amphibian, Mexican amphibian, is a neotenic salamander, which is unusual among amphibians, in that they reach adulthood without undergoing metamorphosis. Based on the concept of neoteny, one can reorient the idea of denaturation as resistance to change as time goes by. It is similar to transhumanism, resisting aging and discarding the view that mortality is inevitable. Drake further explains active humanity desires denaturation. She puts the adjective active in front of humanity. Even though Doré does not compare active humanity with passive humanity, the following question arises. What does passive humanity desire? Rewilding. Van Ast mentioned that humans do not want to live without computers, but they do not want to computerized, full, pre-programmed life. I totally agree with him. Humans do not want a situation where the mind and body are translated into information and are controlled by artificial nature. Therefore, even in the far future, in which most nature is transformed into artificial nature, the idea of having a pristine great outdoors or wilderness will still play a central role. Vanna suggests rewilding as a strategy for humans to preserve wilderness or wildness. So the magazine Rewild Yourself states that rewilding focuses on the modern application of indigenous and ancestral strategies for transcending the limitations imposed on our bodies, minds, hearts, spirits by modern industrial and technological living. So he suggests an interesting scenario in the future to reflect the concept of the value of rewilding. Stacking phones on the table in the park, and at first owner to pick up his phone has to buy a round or drinks. Rewilding implies not really responding to work-related email on holiday, not wanting to know everything. Choosing a paper boat, diving in cold water without a wetsuit, feeling the wind. The value of rewilding we can find in the Zhuangzi, which is a Chinese classical text. In the Zhuangzi, there is an interesting story as follows. In the northern darkness, there's a fish, and his name is Kun. The Kun is so huge, I don't know how many thousand li measures. He changes and becomes a bird, whose name is Pang. The back of the Pang measures, I don't know how many thousand li across, and when he rises up and flies off, his wings are like clouds all over the sky. So Zhuangzi seems to believe that birds and fishes do not exist by themselves. They are interconnected, interwoven. There's no bird and there's no fish. As M.C. Escher present in his photo, Sky and Water, you can understand what Zhuangzi trying to say. So his research focuses on how all that exists are interconnected. And we have to consider human-global interaction in order to forecast the future. In the relation between humans and humanoids, we have to consider the concept of uncanny valley that has been variously used in the field of artificial intelligence and aesthetics. The uncanny valley is a theory whereby human replicas, which appear almost, but not exactly, like real human beings, feelings of eeriness or revulsion from other observers. Masahiro Mori, a Japanese robotic scientist, coined the term the uncanny valley in 1970, and argued that as the appearance of robot is made more human, the emotional response of some observers to the robot becomes increasingly positive and empathetic until it reaches a point beyond which the response quickly develops into strong revulsion. The hypothesis put forward by Mori raises the issues of how human-robot interaction can be productive without generating a feeling of mechanistic disdain. While animalistic dehumanization refers to the perception that others lack what distinguishes humans from other animal species, mechanistic dehumanization refers to the denial of inherent characteristics such as warmth, emotionality, and cognitive openness. In history, animalistic dehumanization has been applied against minority groups in discriminated ways. However, mechanistic dehumanization is new and different from animalistic dehumanization. Mechanistic dehumanization is related to indifferent, apathetic, and uncaring attitudes toward others. Humanoids, this person, human-robot communication style. Only open-mindedness inversely influences mechanistic dehumanization. The authors assert that the being open-minded, mediated by law disdain, is a strong predictor of being polite while communicating with humanoid robots. Through the discussion on human-robot interactions, we can forecast that more humans will engage in dehumanization toward humans and have to create alternative attitudes to mechanistic disdain or obtain wisdom from the repository of human history in order to overcome animalistic disdain. So the future that I explained will be very diverse in terms of disparity. Disparity refers to the nature and degree to which the category can be very different from each other. So I guess Korea in the past, we are now more diverse and become this society. So humans, transhumans, androids, other types. As was mentioned previously, the future people will address a different concept of equality. For non-human beings such as robots, they might look for new social goods, which would be very different from ones for human beings. We can guess that air or water can be more important public goods for human life than for robot life. Thus, the future people ought to shape a new concept of equality. On this topic, the complex equality that Michael Walzer suggests is worth noting. Walzer suggests that different social goods ought to be distributed for different reasons in accordance with different procedures by different agents, and all these differences derive from a different understanding of the social goods themselves. His argument provides a very important point to consider. There should not be a dominant concept of equality in a society, but the plural concept of equality, so that members in a society are treated as equal, even though they are unequal in specific respects and environments. So this is my last slide. We explored how human desires and technology will bring new species forth and shape the future. We argue that denaturing and rewilding all rise as new human desires as our environment becomes more and more computerized. With regard to human-to-robot interactions, open minds, among other attitudes, developed in the course of human history will be more important in order to achieve productive interactions between humans and humans. And we believe that this article contributes to enriching understanding of others besides humans and will mitigate dehumanization which will arise between humans and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see Mr. Lee with a hand up. Who would like to ask questions? Tyler, please.
Thank you. So, I know that we're talking about how, we might generate into these different aspects of being naturally human or transhumanistic. But are we necessarily considering how technology will be developing in the near future as well? Because I know that we're getting to the point where Moore's Law, which we've been following forever, is dying out, as we're no longer able to stack more silicon onto the computer as we know it today. So there have been pushes on maybe restructuring how we develop computers, or maybe even going towards science technology. So necessarily we have to contend with how we're going to transition in the near future versus, the far-flung future, because these are issues that are going to be more, how would you say, more relevant to us, because, again, if we have to think of how we are going to be developing computers in the next 2-3 years, it's going to reshape this discussion on how we approach transhumanism. So, I don't know, what would be your thoughts regarding that?
What is your question again?
So, if we are, if we are considering that maybe a restructuring of the computer as we know it today needs to happen in the near future, how do you think that will make waves into the discussion on transhumanism? Because, we could easily be seeing this as early as 2030, 2040, versus, further flung out.
I don't get your points. Please elaborate on your question. So, simple.
Sorry. So,
does anybody understand his question?
let me try to simplify it a little.
Yeah.
With how computers are advancing and changing, especially if we have to go from silicon to diamond or something along those lines, easily, if we have to change the structure of the computer, these discussions or these transitions might be happening a lot faster than we realize.
Can I add some questions?
Report.
Sorry,
I'm trying to keep my thoughts
Yes, so it might be another different questions. Do you think the 4 types of transhumans can be peacefully coexist? Someone says that few humans can be disappeared in the future. So how do you think about this?
Well, for the first question as you raised, I don't quite understand what your point is, but I believe that a computer will be smarter than human expected. So machines will be like humans. So we can see, well, somebody said that it is like sci-fi movies, but it's a possibility of that computers or artificial intelligence will be developed, strong AI. And at the same time, as we know in human history, we evolved with various environments, right? So as machines will be humans, like humans, humans will be machines in order to cope with AI, strong AI. So we cannot stop the developments of technology. So it's like a tsunami, but we can surf with the tsunami. We cannot stop the tsunami, but we can surf with the tsunami by using a surfing board. So humans will be machines will be humans. So the future, maybe there's a conflict, seriously, but we have to focus on this kind of future in order to prepare for uncertainty of the future.
So maybe if I can just clarify a little bit more then, what if this is going to be happening at a much sooner rate than we anticipate? So say, if it's happening 10, 20 years sooner than you anticipate it to be, how can society necessarily adjust if we don't have the time to adjust?
Well, we cannot say that exactly when we see this happening. So we cannot answer to your question, but which is a very important question. But I think future studies is making kind of distance between the present and the future in order for people to prepare for the future. So I just providing the possibilities that our society will face. But I don't have exact answers to your question. And for your question, how can you believe that transhumans coexist with the humans in peace? I expect that a very negative. Because in the history we observed that we degrade humans. We sometimes put humans as, sometimes we distinguish humans and subhumans. So that's why we sometimes kill people for their sake. So actually that's my question. In history, we didn't have much wisdom to get peaceful life with various environment situations. But we have a time. Actually, the past is fact, but it's not a space that we can change. But the future is a possible space that we can adjust, we can change. So I think it is important for us to have a discussion.
Yes.
Thank you. It was a very provocative intervention. So this is a lawyer question. In the post-human future, it seems that we will have different kinds of beings, and I remember your slide in which you have 4 different kinds of beings, from the totally human to the machine and the 2 in between. So I suppose they will be entitled to different levels of legal protection, and namely by names of rights. So let's imagine if I am totally human in the sense that it's all biological material, so I'm entitled to the entire protection of the right to life. But if you have a being which is 50% human and 50% machine, only 50% protection of the right to life. And this, of course, is also a very provocative argument, because because nowadays we do have people that live with prosthetic elements, and no one will dare to say that they are not entitled to full legal protection. What do you think?
Actually, you got me. Can I ask, is there anybody who can answer or provide different ideas to the question? Actually, I understand what you were asking to me, but I have no answer or wisdom.
I also don't have, that's why I'm asking.
Well, I'm a kind of a facilitator, so I can ask you what to answer.
We have to give human rights to other creatures first before we can have the amalgamation of machines and humans. Otherwise, we're not survive.
You're glad to come here because I see someone's not able to
Maybe I can add something to this. I'm here. If we see the extension of grade 8 rights in the grade 8 project, some countries have given the rights for other grade 8s, so chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans, in addition to Homo sapiens. So that's an intermediary step in the extension of rights. So they're free from experiments, for example, in Europe, New Zealand, countries. So that would be a way. I think the answer is, no matter what, as long as there is a capacity for the brain being alive, we give rights to people in persistent vegetative state. We give rights to people in some countries, such as Japan, even if you're brain dead, if you didn't accept brain death as your method of diagnosis of death, you're still alive, you still have human rights. So as long as some part of you is human, you would have a right, even if you were 99% machine. I think the interesting question, if your brain was preserved in a machine as a science fiction extension, if only your brain was there, yes, you'd still be given the rights, but then we'd have to explore positive, negative rights. Do you have a right to sustenance? And for example, if I chose to immortalize my brain, does the company now have an obligation to provide sustenance to me for the indefinite future? Even though I can't pay for it anymore, my money is gone. And so there are many legal questions on the future, but at least while we're alive, we accept that all human beings have equal rights as a fundamental legal dogma, which is useful for us to live in our society. I think that's also a foundation in the Bioethics Commissions as well. It's a point. And I have another reflections, I think, on the, to add, but I think Professor Park is waiting for his question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this very interesting presentation. Actually, National Bioethics Committee, we are considering to prepare the fourth revolution and some artificial intelligence. So you mentioned human and transhuman and humanoid and machine sapiens. So machine sapiens we can call the robo sapiens. Yeah. So as my question is for transhuman or the humanoid to be machine sapiens, which condition should be fulfilled? So I mean, for example, we already have a service robot who has 7 kinds of emotion, and they provide a massage, they want to communicate with some elder patient. So which condition should be fulfilled? Kind of personality or the communicability or the I'm not sure about the autonomy. So, please.
Actually, through this presentation, I tried to answer to your question. Why people try to be transhuman? Or why people try to make androids? It's a kind of artificial intelligence robots that will be like humans. So that's why I suggest two different human design, in nature and nature. So I think technologies allow humanity to go further, to be kind of a superhuman level by utilizing technologies. So they want to change their body intentionally. So actually, I posted an Australian artist, Stella. He tried to make a third arms, and he implanted his third ears. Why? Because he tried to expand the horizons of humanity. If they change their body, and what if they imagine differently? So I think strong drivers is to be a transhuman, is to change nature, which I call denaturing. And then humans try to be a transhuman, but cannot be androids, because androids is going to be robots, kind of intelligence robots. So, but humans try to make androids, and then at the same time he tries to be a transhuman. But at the same time, many people want to remain human. But the desire to be human in the future will be different. I call it rewiring. So this situation, I guess that we cannot resist using technologies. We're still using smartphone or other types of things, types of technologies. But as I said, that some people can rule how to use the technology. So, for example, we said that in the pub or in a classroom, if you have a smartphone, just put it on your smartphone and you cannot use it. So, humans, I can think they use technology to make a balance between nature and humans. But other humans try to go further, to be a radical human, active human.
Other comment at the back, please. Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. And one of my questions is whether four kinds of, or whatever is mass product. So mass product. We are here because we are talking about ethics. So each product, or each human being and other product, you mentioned about good, okay? So in that case, who can define good? Good. And also, what about human nature? When you mentioned about all these things are very much material things, but human has a value and a meaning, and also human the nature. One of nature we suffer from is power, privilege, and control. So how do you how do you deal with this issue, whether transhuman or AI or whatever? This is my question. How do you prepare? And I think it always go back to ethics. So, but my question is also, again, when she mentioned about different kind of the religious ethics or different ethnic ethics, whatever, it goes again, go back to the ethics. So, what ethics are we talking about? And we see now as the people who have power can change things like Trump, you know. So, how do you deal with these things? And not you, but how the people who think about transhuman or AI, these things, they deal with this issue, and that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, when I prepared for this presentation, I'm kind of forced to consider how my presentation is related to ethics. Because I'm not an ethical person. But one thing that I have in mind is that, for example, bioethics deal with human dignity. We always think about human dignity, but when we face the future that will be for different beings, what about transhuman dignity? What kind of transhuman worth of being respected? What about androids' dignity? What about machine sapiens' dignity? This is all about sounds ridiculous, stupid, but I guess that the change is so rapid happened to us. So I don't think it is kind of sci-fi area that we have to consider if we have time. And then I try to think about evolution, how human evolved. And then till now, I have an idea that evolution is all about communal and social. When we interact with others and machines and materials, we have to discuss what is development and what should we have evolution. As I said, I don't have any conclusion, but I have many questions for me about this.
Are there other reflections or comments? I'd like to ask you a question then. So you have made a distinction between a human and a technological. But if the technology is a co-creation of our mind, isn't a technological being human?
Is technological being human?
So an android is actually human because it was the product of human beings, isn't it?
I mean, what is the definition of humanity? Intelligence and legs. Or what about androids? They think themselves and they can collect information and make decisions by themselves. So how can we exclude the androids in the category of humanity?
So they are human. Yeah.
So they're human. Like that, as I said in the 18th century, in the middle of the United States, black Africans were not considered to be a human. So I think in the future, like in the Europe, they make the electronic person, the person. So like near future, we have to seriously consider that androids or electronic humans can be human.
But I think when you say that that's a human, that you think because he has a will, choose the will. But I think it's different than human free will, and their will to choose is that according to the information they choose. But still, we don't know that is like a human will or just machine's will. I think that has to be concerned, not just because they choose, because of that they are human. I think that is too simple to make a conclusion.
What about, if I can ask again, torture? Yes, interrogation it's called. Because you're a human being, the discourse is one of the products of human beings. So the product, for you, a human, if it has decision making, it's fine. Now, you introduced a word that I found interesting called wildness. Relating to an image of indigenous culture that is somehow wild. But actually, many indigenous culture is very cultivated, and it was colonized by those Europeans in power and the civilization lost. For example, the Aztec, the Mayan civilizations, many civilizations in Asia, in Africa. These had very developed astronomy, mathematics, medicine. So perhaps the danger with using wildness as indigenous, it's going to make indigenous people seem like they're not civilized because they're wild. So what do you think about this? Because I think
I don't argue that
maybe it's original culture. I think for me, it's demeaning to indigenous people that you use the term that they're wild, because it links to this idea that Europeans were civilized and other peoples were not civilized. But I'd like your reflection on this idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I don't argue that Aboriginal people or indigenous people should be people are wild. But when I think about the transhuman society, the transhuman society reminds me of, as I presented Zhuangzi, China's classical past. He believed that the humans are not isolated from the universe, like particles and stars. So, even though when we face transhuman society, still there's a strong desire to be a wanderer. So I expect that in the future we will have many wanderers. There's no destination for those who wander. So not indigenous people, but wanderers can be registered to the transhuman society. So it is important to wander society in order to have a balance between technology-driven society and wildness or wildness.
I've got a similar question. A composite human, can the person who it cannot reproduce itself as another composite but its species? So that reproduction down the generations is very
Is a comment?
whatever you want. See what do you think about
reproduction of humans.
Talking about what it means to be human.
I have one son. He's now 14 years old. Sometimes he becomes a madman. But I happily see him growing up. So growth or reproduction is kind of a human's happiness, I believe. But I can put another question to answer your question. Why machines or androids want to expand their second generation?
Well, that's right. I mean, machines can't reproduce themselves and be us fully human. And if you don't have a machine in your body, artificial heart or lung or whatever, made out of metal, plastic, whatever you like to choose, it changes the human looks and things, but I don't know whether it could also basically be called human, these bits, unless they begin to reproduce themselves. I don't know. Anyway.
Take as a comment. I think, in fact, your answer to your question, partly you can see in the theme of the latest in the saga of Alien Covenant, where the android wants to be a reproducer, to have a power of God, let's say, in that movie. Maybe that is linked to your question of why they would want to reproduce or be a creator. But if you can live forever as a self-perpetuating machine, maybe you don't need to reproduce. And the same thing could open up the question of cloning copies of yourself as opposed to creating something different. So I don't know if you...
I think it will be more and more controversial. Yeah, why are we not talking in the real time? Yeah.
I think my reflection is because it's made by human, and then they will observe all the human capacity. I'm more talking about AI case. So AI collect all the information of human behavior, and they may make a conclusion that existence is good. But if you non-existence is bad, so they make a conclusion. So if they want to continue to exist like human being, they can automatically, it's a logic, they also wanted to reproduce. And also if human being wanted to cease their existence, they will protect themselves or they eliminate human being. That's a logic. This is my understanding.
I think you remind me of an interesting story that if I ask engineers who make AI, I ask them one question for him or her. Please not to put any mind to distinguish good and bad in robotics mind. If robots distinguish good and bad, the robots will be dangerous. Because the robots think of something as bad, they try to be eliminated. So I do not, engineers should not allow artificial intelligence to reflect human history, because we distinguish good and bad. So we kill each other. But helpless, I I have a negative anticipation about that. Because of AI, as you mentioned, the humans are making AI. So humans try to mimic their history in Android. So Android resembles the humans' behavior. So how can we avoid the kind of trends?
And also there is also people who deliberately put the bad into the AI or machine. It's possible. It's a logical thing. As a human being, we can think that way. We can assume that way.
Right. We have to talk about possible futures, but also at the same time we have to talk about desirable futures, preferable futures that we have to implement. So please let me go.
It's been an excellent session with both presentations. I have one final remark, which you referred to the game Go, and it leads to this discussion about whether you should include human history and programming into the AI machine. Some of you may be aware that several weeks ago, a new version of the AI system to play Go was developed. And this system, you may have heard about, was not the previous one that gave the master that won the Go battle. Was programmed with all the historical Go games of human beings. The recent AI system that won 100 out of 100 games against the master, in fact, against the previous AI master, was given no instruction on Go except the rule, no human history. It learned to play in less than 2 days, and it won 100 out of 100 games against the previous AI opponent. So in fact, not having human history enabled it to invent completely new ways to play the game of Go.
Also, we don't need masters and teachers and professors. So I can learn by themselves.
That's right. So without the human programming, they can do even better than us, at least at winning a game that I'm sure about the
So thank you for the presentation. Thank you very much. Let's give mic to Soyun.
Thank you very much for the speakers and for the tutors. Can you give a big round for them today? Today's symposium is closed, and this welcome reception will be preparing another meeting. So our steps will guide you to go, which is very near, 5 minutes walk. So all of these audience and all of these attendants can go together for the welcome meeting reception. Thank you very much.
Yeah.